Hi, my name is Jasmine Gibson and I'm 25 years old. And today I'll be sharing a little bit about mental illness. What do you think of when you think of mental illness? I think of how different people can experience the same thing, but the way that they are affected by it can be completely different. Stigma, taboo, sort of a feeling of not being in control of your own life, but also at the same time being diagnosed with a mental illness or understanding or accepting that you have a mental illness means that you have sought out assistance for yourself. Some people can make mental illness limiting or use it as a crutch or a way to not take responsibility for their own lives. And some people use it as an opportunity to educate other people or teach other people about what it means to have a particular mental illness. Being diagnosed can give them the push that they need to live and to fight against what, doctors or therapists or psychologists may say you can or can't do, or you can or can't experience in life. What did mental illness look like in my life? Mental illness is actually something that the women in my family, not to say that the men haven't, but I think is something that affects a lot of the women in my family. My mother experienced postpartum depression. I have two other siblings, older sister and a younger brother, and she experienced postpartum depression and psychosis with all three of us, but mainly with me. My great grandmother is bipolar. My grandmother suffers from bipolar disorder as well. I think my great-great-grandmother also experiences schizophrenia. So there has definitely been mental illness that has been passed down generationally. And I believe that I also experience depression. My belief is that children in the womb and during conception are greatly impacted and affected by what their mother is experiencing, and due to the fact that my mother experienced depression with me, and even after I was born, we never really experienced that mother-daughter bond. Or my mother said she would experience thoughts of basically wanting to take my life or even her own life. I believe that greatly impacted me. When I was younger, I remember I had to be no older than 5, maybe 4. Me and my cousin and my sister, we would always play. We used to live in my grandmother's house, and we would play together. And I think because I was the youngest, they liked to kind of pick on me or not really, or refuse to play with me or stuff like, stuff that kids did. And I remember being downstairs with them, and I got so upset at the fact that they didn't want to play with me that I said that I wished that I was dead. And thinking back on it now, it's so weird to me. It's like, what does a child that age even know about that, or how did I even know what that meant? And I was also the type of child who always wanted to be alone. Like, I could stay in a space by myself for hours and hours, and it would not bother me or affect me that I was alone. With my family, or with people in general, I think I reached a point of when there's too much going on or I feel overwhelmed, I have to distance myself from whatever's going on and be alone, or I my family would get annoyed a lot because they would be talking to each other or talking to me, and eventually if I felt like I was no longer needed in the conversation or part of the conversation, I would just leave. I would just take that time out to do with it, whatever. Like, I enjoyed writing, I enjoyed reading. I guess in a way it was like my sense of meditation. Just having the opportunity to think. Yeah, I consider myself a deep thinker, and I enjoy those moments when you can just sit and think about things, and think about where your life is going, think about how you feel about certain situations that you're in. But my mother saw it as me being depressed, and I can't say that I wasn't or I was. I think it's mostly about how you feel about it. And if I reached a point where I was alone or by myself to hide from something, or because I was fearful about something, then that was one thing. But if I was doing things that were edifying to me and that I enjoyed, then it wasn't seen to me as, being depressed. It was just me doing something for myself. How did I see myself in relation to mental illness? I never really saw myself, I guess, as having a mental illness, because I think if I accepted that, then it feels out of my control. And sometimes it is out of my control, but for the most part, I like to be able to believe that I'm capable of changing my dynamic and thinking more positively, or doing something that I know will bring me out of whatever I'm dealing with or whatever I'm feeling. But there are times where I feel truly affected by it, or that I feel least in control. Sometimes it shows up as anger, frustration, rage, feelings of being alone even when I'm not being able to focus, not being able to sleep, eat properly, or sometimes it may be thoughts that come up. Like, I could be somewhere and experiencing something very positive, but for some reason, like, these negative thoughts will just come into my mind, and I'll just sit back and think, like, why am I thinking like that, or why did that even pop into my head? So, like, these random negative or self-defeating thoughts, just feeling as though life would continue on, and people would not really be affected by my presence, or if I was here or if I wasn't, even though I know logically that is not true. I do get in just moments where I feel kind of stuck or stagnant in my life, and like things are not going the way that I really want them to go. Or when I allow, fear or doubt to stop or block me from doing the things that I really want to do, that's when I feel as though my relationship with depression kind of is a negative one. But also it's a liberating feeling to know that I got past or through a moment that I thought that I couldn't. And it's an up and down relationship. There's times when I feel like I'm completely fine and I'm not really experiencing anything negative, and there's times where it's a lot harder to get past it or get out of it. In terms of recovery, what has worked or hasn't worked for you? I feel like every day is my recovery. And what really helps me is just doing things that I love and enjoy doing that can kind of take my mind off of negative things. When I get into a place where I'm kind of living by default and not by my own design, or not feeling like I'm being a contribution to the world around me or making a difference, stepping out and actually doing something that I feel does support other people, or makes me happy. I enjoy singing, writing songs, reading, art, anything artistic and creative. If I'm working on music, I can kind of tune out everything for a long period of time, and yeah, I'm just in a place of peace and genuine happiness. When I get stuck in routine and I feel like there's no movement, there's no progression, I think that affects me the most. When I feel I'm not doing what I'm called to do, or whatever my purpose is. I also am in therapy. I talk to my therapist about whatever I'm going through, and that tends to help me. My dog really helps, surprisingly, even though I think she sometimes has more anxiety than I do, but I don't know, something about having the presence of an animal, or something or someone that I can take care of, really helps me. I think having her around really calms me down. My advice would just be to not be afraid to communicate and share with other people whatever you're going through, especially mothers, or women who are pregnant, because I believe that mental states at that time really do impact your child. And when it comes to pregnancy and motherhood, everyone expects that it's supposed to be just a great and positive experience. You bring a child into the world, and it's not the reality for everyone. And if that is something that you're going through or facing, please don't be afraid to tell someone and to speak about it, because sometimes just talking it out helps, tremendously. And it can definitely save lives, just being able to talk about things. And even if you're not going through it, if you see someone in your life who may be acting differently, more withdrawn, or sometimes people can easily just put on a smile and act like everything's okay. And all some people need really is for that one person to ask and to check in and make sure that they are okay, and not just take "I'm fine" as an answer, and choose to dig deeper with the person and really make sure. And also just taking the time out to really learn about yourself and your needs, and even if you have to write down for yourself what the things are that makes you happy, and with that list, compile things that you can do when you're feeling down or sad or depressed or afraid, that can really help to bring you out of that. No one should have to suffer or go through anything alone. If you have children, make sure you talk to them about how they're feeling, because I just feel these days a lot of kids at a very young age end up taking their own lives or attempting suicide and other things, because they don't really understand what they're going through or their feelings, and they believe that that's the best option. So yes, communication, It's also a good idea to, if there's, maybe a saying, a scripture, or anything that, helps to pull you through or get you out of certain thoughts. If there's something that helps you, you can, write it down, stick it on your wall, a mirror, or anything of the sort that just reminds you to keep going, that reminds you that this is temporary, or you're just experiencing a moment of depression or anxiety, or whatever the case may be. Just being able to, remembering to breathe is important, taking deep breaths. And a lot of times, this may sound weird, but they say if you smile, even the act of smiling can shift your energy. So sometimes you may be completely unhappy and can't find anything to smile about, but sometimes just the act of your face making that movement or gesture can shift your energy and then your mood. A lot of times if I'm in a negative space, I will burn sage or incense, or light a candle, and that usually helps to clear out my energy. If you're the type of person who enjoys being around water, go to the beach or any type of waterfront and sit there and, try to release whatever it is that you're feeling into the water, and just whatever, just find what works for you. Don't accept what other people say as the final word or the be all for you, because you know you best. If you make the choice to fight through something and to get yourself to a healthier place in whatever way that looks and feels right for you, then do what you have to do. So thank you for taking the time out to listen, and I hope that this really reached or touched someone who may be going through the same things or experiencing what I've experienced.